All right. Okay, cool. All right. Again, just wanted to welcome everyone. My name is Andrea Rishi, if you didn't know that already. Part of the GBCS team, Graduate Business Career Services. Just want to welcome all of you for joining us today. Feel free to open up your, camera, mics, and ask questions whenever you'd like. Um, the We are scheduled to go to 6:45. I just want to be mindful and respectful of everyone's time. Some of you have class at 7. Also want to be mindful of Abby's time as well. But like I said, 6:45 will be the absolute latest that we'll go. And if it doesn't go to all the way to 6:45, that's fine too. Just so you know, at some point throughout our session today, I am going to have you take a quick Qualtrics survey, just giving us feedback on the event itself. We just like to get feedback to know how to go about setting up future programming. So would really appreciate that. It's a quick 2 minutes to do that. And I would super appreciate it. But with that being said, let me introduce our guest speaker today. I call him Abhi. Abhi, I don't want to like butcher like your first name. Last name's
That's okay.
but Abhi for sure. Abhi's actually worked with us here at Graduate Business Career Service. He is an alumnus of the Masters of Science in Marketing Analytics program. So if any of you in that program, he was where you are now. So he's on the other side. So he's going to shed some light on what it's like being on the other side. Currently, he's working at Sendbird. He started off there, awesome position, was a marketing manager of paid acquisition and growth over at Sendbird, and now has transitioned over to AI agent workforce manager at Sendbird. So congrats on that. And aside from that, he's just an all-around nice guy. All-around nice guy. So he's going to share some tips when it comes to job search, take questions, tackle some questions maybe about AI. You have those concerns, and maybe even if some of you are international students, as Abi himself was an international student here. Maybe if you have questions on that, he can, you know, um, tackle that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Abi so I don't waste any time. All right, take it away, Abi.
Oh, thanks, Andre. You're too kind. Hey, everyone. My name is Abhijit Jothilingam. You can call me Abhi. Like Andre said, I used to work with GBCS and graduated last year. Since it's a nice, smaller crowd, like feel free to, unmute, come on video. Let's have this interactive. I have a very short, crisp presentation on the agenda. Like, hey, what my background, how did my work evolve? And general trends and tips for your job hunt. So, cool. Let me get started. Do this. Trying something different here, where I am inside the shared screen. So yeah, so about me, I used to work for GBCS. I was a student assistant for marketing, driving registrations and like organizing events. It's been about a year since I graduated and left the program. Post my MS in marketing analytics program, I joined Sendbird. So Sendbird is an AI agent for customer support startups. So we build AI agents for businesses to run and implement customer support agents that are AI that are based off AI, so that their human agents can focus on much more important problems. And about 9 months ago, my role changed, and there's a huge shift in the Bay Area. So I moved from Long Beach to San Francisco in Feb of this year. And yeah, there's a shift or a transition happening in the market, especially in tech, which I'll briefly go over. But yeah, along with that, I had to upskill, and my role kind of changed into being an AI agent workforce manager. I'll go in depth about that piece. So my job search journey, to put it simple, I got lucky. It's luck plays a huge role in your job search journey. So don't be And don't give up or don't back down when things aren't working. Not everything's a lesson. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes things don't work out. Like some of the smartest folks in my class, they're still having a tough time finding a job. And while like I've seen folks just get lucky. So luck plays a huge role, and I definitely got lucky in my journey. But what I've learned is this: as long as you control what you can control, it's fairly easier to land a job or take an opportunity forward. So I'm just gonna go over what helped for me in terms of getting uh, interviews, callbacks, and so on. So for me, the most important thing is you can't improve something if you don't measure it. I had a huge tracker of all the jobs that I applied, like what's the status, what company, what is the position, the job link, when did I apply on, and the resume that I used. So I track things meticulously. I can share the actual doc. It's still live. So these are all the jobs I applied during my job search journey. I got a few interviews, few rejects, and the 106th job that I applied was is for Sendbird, and is where I'm still with. So I got lucky. So I've seen sheets where folks apply for like 700, 800 jobs. I think I was around like 450, but then a month out, folks from Sendbird reached out. I had like 7 interviews. It was definitely challenging. It's not easy, but somehow I made it through. But yeah, make sure to track everything that you're doing, so that you can improve on. Hey, if you're caught, the next step is to look at it from a funnel perspective. Getting a job is a numbers game. So, and this all the students or all my fellow students who got a job, I've seen the same exact numbers. So getting a job is right now a numbers game in terms of your applications to callbacks. So applications are the number of applications you submit to the callbacks you receive. You should at least expect 6 to 8% callback rate. So if you apply for 100 jobs, you need to get 6 to 8 callbacks. If you're not getting that, you need your average is below 5, you need to work on your resume. Book a meeting with Andre or Michelle, get your resumes reviewed, and also try these two tools, Overleaf or JobScan. Overleaf is a tool that lets you code your resume so that it's easier for these applicant tracking system, ATS systems, to kind of extract keywords. And there are a bunch of AI tools for you to use it. Like some folks say, hey, don't use AI. AI gets flagged. I'm on the other board. I use AI for all my resumes. It's impossible to tailor each of your resume for the job. Don't make it too obvious that it's written by AI, but as long as you leverage AI in the right way, you're gonna get picked. So, and also pick roles that are closer to your experience. You should. It's good to shoot for the moon, but it's also good to be realistic. So you need to keep your application process in a way that you judge, hey, am I getting 6 to 8% callbacks? If not, you need to rework your strategy. And the next step from callbacks to interview. So usually the first step of when someone reaches out would be a HR screening. So that's basically, hey, about you, a high level. It could be a phone call, it could be a Zoom call, but it usually lasts for like 10 to 20 minutes. It's not a full-on interview. Just getting your details. Hey, what are you studying? What's your work authorization? About your past experience. So this call is just for the HR, the recruiter, to feel confident that, hey, I'm going to surface Abhi to the hiring manager. I need to be confident that this person would be a good fit, right? And then that usually is about 80 to 90%. Like 9 out of 10 times when someone calls me for initial screen, it's as long as you're truthful, as long as you meet, you didn't lie on your resume, you should get through. And lastly, interviews to offers. Like the biggest part of the funnel is the application phase. Like once you get a callback and once you get to meet someone face to face, I find it easier to convert. So if you're giving 10 interviews, at least 3 offers is what you should ideally be looking at getting. If not, you need to adjust how you apply, how you prepare. So I have tips for all of these sections. For the applications to callbacks, it's just a numbers game. Just start tracking, just use tools. In terms of preparing for interviews, that's the next step. You need to prep. Like preparation is everything. You need to have a solid introduction. Like whenever tell me about yourself should stand out. Like it should have these 3 elements. One, who are you? What do you what can you do for my company, and what can you get, and how do you see yourself grow? So if you can answer those 3 questions within a 30-second to 1 minute elevator pitch, you need to master that specific elevator pitch. For me, this was an elevator pitch, and also most of the interviews nowadays, it's based on behavioral questions. So behavioral questions often fall under a few buckets, like, hey, talk about a time when you've done a mistake, talk about a time when you took up a leadership role, and you need to prepare for that in depth. So I also have like an interview prep kit. So leaderships, mistakes, conflicts. So how do you resolve conflicts? So zoom in. So these are some of the common questions. Say, how would you respond if a coworker disagrees? Tell me a time and your idea. So the best way to answer these type of questions is in a star format, like situation, task, problem, solution, and result. So situation, hey, we had to launch a campaign. Problem, we didn't have much time and the form wasn't working. Solution, and I took accountability for it. I solved it, and the result, I created a quality check. These are, once you have the question and once you have the star framework, it becomes easier to just think about your experience. Like, it need not be your past work experience, it could be your college project, a group project for school, how you've handled mistakes or how you've taken up leadership roles. So it's all about being prepared and formulating your answer in a clear and concise way so that they get it, instead of at that moment being throttled or out of words, and you start using a lot of filler words. So yeah, prep. That's the easy. There's no easy shortcut, but preparation always helps. And the fourth important thing is it for cracking interviews. Like, I could give a lot of tips, but it just boils down to two things. Have high energy. You need to be exothermic when you meet someone in person. Like, hey, how's it going? This is what. Like, you need to have that light in your eyes or this excitement when you talk about projects that you worked on, and sharp focus. You need to have that exothermic energy at all, and also at the same time be focused on their question, on the objective, and not stray too much on away from the question or away from what they're looking for. So have high energy, at the same time maintain sharp focus during the interviews, and this has fairly worked well for me. And also, like, not everything is a lesson. Like, you fail again, it's completely fine. This is a favorite meme that got through my job search journey. Like, you might be feeling that this is the worst day of your life, but it's the worst day of your life so far. So it can always be worse. It can always be better. It's just taking it, staying true to yourself, having a positive mindset, and trust the process. Like, if you do everything that's in your control, the fifth element is the one that's not in your control. So you gotta let luck find you. So I don't know why this is becoming super motivational, but yeah, this is what helped. And also the other things that helped me was staying active on LinkedIn. Post a lot about stuff that's interesting. Like, I really find data and trends pretty interesting. So talk about stuff that you're passionate about. It's not for the likes or engagement. Just put yourself out there. Creating content has disproportionate returns. Like, if you put X, you put like you the output you get is X squared. So always try to create content. It's okay. Like, I was super insecure, but then what made me going was actually started getting offers or like people inbounding to me. Hey, I saw your profile. You fit. Oh, it was a moment where I was like, you like me? You wanna work with me? So LinkedIn really works. Start posting. Build your network. Engage with people's content. Like, folks posting, they're also insecure. So comment, engage with them. Hey, that's a good insight. And then try, reposting, collaborate better, and also connect with recruiters and like founders. Right now, there's a boom of AI startups that's coming out. It is, in my opinion, it's going to be a bubble, but for the next 2 years, the bubble's going to just keep growing. So learn as much as you can. Folks who reach out, engage with them, and then stay super active on LinkedIn, and not just LinkedIn. Also network in person. Like, I've seen the most amount of success when I meet someone in person. Like, I would consider myself an introvert and I don't get energy from meeting people, but I've had the most meaningful conversations and like long-term LinkedIn friends from in-person events. So try to go for in-person events that are relevant for you. For me, that's one of the key reasons I moved to the Bay Area. I live in San Francisco right now. There's a whole lot of tech events that's happening right now. It's SF Tech Week from October 6th to October 12th. Next week, it's coming to LA. I would highly recommend you to check out this website. It's been organized by a lot of VCs, startups, and the events are so fun. It's not just about, hey, come learn with us. There's a HIIT Tech Week. There's a surf and a code event. There's like Pilates and power, vibe coding. There's yoga. So there's folks in the Bay Area, like in general, I'm seeing a trend where they really want to have an experiential activity along with networking. And yeah, try to put yourself out there. These connections and the stuff that I learn are far more valuable in terms of applying to what I do at work. You don't have an agenda. Just show up, meet new people, consume what's out there, and try to add value to these events. Uh, cool. And just to summarize, just identify what comes naturally to you. Get a sense of where you can genuinely add value and go towards that instead of swimming against in the opposite stream. Follow the money. That's one of my most important things. See where industry is headed and investments are moving towards. Right now, it's AI. Like if you mention AI, your company's valuation is going is higher, and um, even though I feel it's a bubble, it's definitely one worth learning and getting upskilled on. And now's the time to build your strengths. Like I'm not sure which stage of your career you are in. Like right now, in your graduate school or in the early days of your career is the time to build strengths. Like everything is uncertain. I didn't have a playbook for marketing when I joined, but then I had to create my own playbook. So have an open mind. It's okay to fail as long as you keep trying and heading in the direction of what naturally comes to you. For me, these three things translate into like for me, I love working with data and uncovering hidden insights, like working with a lot of huge spreadsheets. I see a lot of data on a daily basis, impressions, clicks, how much are we spending, who are we bringing to our website, what's the conversion, how much revenue. So I love working with data to uncover hidden insights on what might be working well, where do I invest more money into. And then I bring strong business context, like where this is hugely absent in most of my workplace. I was pleasantly surprised to see a lot of people just do their job but don't have a clear sense of a bigger picture. It's really important to understand your work and how you're influencing money for your company, even though it could be a smaller portion. But once you know that connection, you know where to focus your efforts. And I put 80% of my time on the exact tasks that would move the company's bottom line, and people would notice and start appreciating that. And yeah, I love making money, and so that's a natural motivation for me. Like if you folks were it's it's good. It's appreciated if you stay back longer, put in the extra hours, and find something that motivates you. For me, it's in a shallow note, it's more money. And about my job, so right now, this is how I started. So in terms of what I do, I manage marketing campaigns, so creative testing, paid ads, landing pages. These are stuff that I build on a regular basis. Work with data analysis, like I mentioned, optimizing spend to drive pipeline, measure return on investment. Focus is on efficiency. How can we do more with less? That's what every startup, every company is trying to achieve right now. And this is how my job turned into 9 months ago. So everybody, like us being an AI company, we had a big shift where the senior leadership was focusing on, hey, we need to use more AI. All of your job titles are going to be changed to something AI related. So my job went from managing campaigns to training AI agents to manage marketing campaigns, from working with data to build AI apps that actually build those gets gives me recommendations or gives me the insight that I'm looking for. And also deploy AI products. We buy a lot of AI products, a lot of AI tools to just experiment to see if how much of our productivity is improved because of that. So yeah, from doing the actual work, right now my focus is just on training AI or using AI to do a 5x of what I was usually doing. And this is how the job descriptions are also changing. So, initially a growth marketing manager, they ask for experience. You are comfortable owning campaigns and executing stuff. we are analytical and data driven. Right now, the job descriptions are changing. It's about, hey, can you prototype and launch AI powered workflows to improve speed, personalization, targeting across marketing channels, like GPTs for ad copy. Instead of you creating ad copy, companies want you to use GPT to create ad copy at scale. Create like products. So this products for growth experiments. Instead of just doing A/B tests, build a product that does growth experiments for you. There are fantastic tools like Base 44, Emergent, or Lovable. I use regularly to build these apps that just take care of a part of my part of my job, and then I just look at it, optimize it to make it better, and the money also follows. So for the growth marketing manager role, this is the compensation range. But if you use AI to do less work and optimize it, your compensation range actually increases. So this is where the market is heading, and it's a clear distinction. Like if I just have insider info on this is what's happening at my company, and uh, just uh, just want to share the actual changes that are happening in my day to days. So this is a graph I stole from my CEO's deck. So this is how he kind of visualizes without AI or with AI. So you could be productive, you could be highly productive or low productivity, but imagine your productivity level is somewhat here, and the global mediocrity is here. Globally, folks are productive. The median productivity range is here. But with AI, the global mediocrity is increased. So everybody's using ChatGPT. So the median mediocrity of productivity level has shifted. The thing is, if you use AI or if you master AI, you would get ahead, but you would get far behind if you don't use AI. So and when I say use AI, it's not just ChatGPT. Like you saw the description, job description, right? You need to understand the differences between models. Start building products. You need to like go 5x of what you know just on the surface level using ChatGPT to tweak emails or word something better, and take it from that to building useful workflows. For me, I would just summarize using AI better in these three fronts. One, understand model strength. This is basic. So there's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and Perplexity. Those are the four foundational models that are most popular. Each of those models are good for a specific thing. ChatGPT is general research, but it's good with deep research. Gemini for creative copywriting. If you have a marketing problem, Gemini's copy being in a place where I have to use this on a daily basis, creative copywriting is far better with Gemini. Claude for long form summarization. Perplexity is super fast. And if you want citations, or if you're doing research and want to check if hey, is my experiment statistically significant, you need to Perplexity is the best place for it. And also start learning to use AI agents. So start building workflows. Even on ChatGPT, you could do that with AI mode. And I think a couple of days ago on Dev Day, OpenAI also announced a bunch of features, and they've killed a bunch of startups with that announcement. So I used to use N8N. It's a pretty popular tool. So whenever someone fills out a form on the website, I create a workflow. So this is the actual workflow that we use. Hey, if it's a good lead that comes through, we create a Jira ticket. If it's not, I pass it on to Slack and notify a sales rep to just talk to them. So you start using AI agents, not just AI to rephrase emails. AI can do so much more than that, and also master prompt engineering. Instead of the people who are going to get ahead in the workplace in 2025 know how to speak to AI agents better than how to speak to a human. So instead of just giving out a brief on, hey, this is what I need to get done, give context, objective instructions, and then see ChatGPT, performing at a whole other level. Right now, even though the effort is lesser, hey, in order for me to do my assignment, I just need to type a few words in. But if you lay things out clearly, the quality of output will be so much better. And eventually, you'll learn how to tweak and how to get the best results from AI sooner. And lastly, tips for my fellow international students. First up, be honest about sponsorship requirements. When it comes to job interviews, the first question, or typically towards the end, this comes up. Like after giving out a bomb interview, like the interview was really well, but then towards the very end, there's always that S question. Hey, do you need sponsorship? be positive and stay truthful. That hey, I do need it. It's better to be truthful upfront, and especially with all the challenges that are and the new regulations that's coming up, it's better to give the employer a transparent experience of, hey, you need it. And you'd be surprised by right now there's a huge void in the market for like really skilled workforce members, especially in the like some experience in AI. Some of my friends got jobs, but they were not. They typically those companies don't sponsor H1, but they were okay with, hey, are you on OPT? If you have more than 2 years, we're open to hiring you. So have transparent conversations with when it comes to sponsorship. Stay positive. It's a numbers game. Like I said again, there are a bunch of companies that still continue to sponsor. It's impossible to find tech talent if for certain roles if the pool applicant pool is smaller. So companies generally are open to international talent. So keep going at it, and also strategically network with people who network with fellow international students. There's like a lot of tech events or just general meetups where international students meet and exchange ideas or exchange strategies. And also when you're reaching out to someone from a like, hey, I applied, reach out to someone to get just check in to see if your resume was sent to a recruiter, but also reach out to people who are fellow international students if you want to really know more and navigate about the process. Now the fourth important thing that really helped me was to learn US work etiquettes. Like I'm from India, and my culture generally appreciates if you don't speak up, right? If you are and if you listen, do your job, don't ask questions. That's kind of appreciated. But the US work etiquettes are slightly different. You need to voice out. You need to be more engaging. You need to talk about your life, talk about hey, how your day was. All of these soft skills are super important. Once you get through the door and have an offer, learning to have this US work etiquette and being open to like changing your personality or changing your behavior in the workplace really gets you far ahead. So yep, that's my presentation on what helped me, what are my strategies, and what's happening in the market from a first-hand experience being in an AI startup. um, Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. This is my email. And also, if you are interested in talking about building products, or business growth, stocks, personal finance, or life as an international student, I'm always open for a coffee chat. And if you're ever in SF, feel free to hit me up. We can definitely catch up.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Let me actually drop the link. I'm going to drop the link for SF Tech Week in the chat right now. And Abhi, I misspoke. I was saying that I've been to SF Tech before, but I haven't. It's actually the LA Tech Fair. Because when I looked at SF Tech, I was like, no, I haven't been to that one. I'm into the LA Tech Fair. But thank you for the information shared. Super awesome. I mean, I know that you said that you were got lucky. I don't know if I'd really say lucky. I mean, one thing you touched on was going through 7 rounds of interviews at Sendbird, and you weren't just and you were interviewing with key company stakeholders. I don't know if you could touch on that a little bit, that interview process, and how did you manage successfully closing on each of those steps through the interview process? Because you're meeting with just high level people in the organization, and that's stressful. That's really stressful.
No, that's true. That's a good follow-up question. Yeah, I was trying to have. It's all about preparation, but at the same time, I was super nervous. I was thinking, hey, they're gonna hate me. They're gonna hate me till the very end. But then the two things that really helped me was high energy. As soon as I logged into the Zoom meetings, hey, how's it going? This is what I've been working on. Like having that passion kind of welcomed me into them. And also do your research. LinkedIn's an amazing tool. For the six folks that I spoke to, I knew a lot of stuff about them that they forgot. Like I knew their 13 years of experience. Where did they start their career? What are their skills?
Mm,
Like LinkedIn's an amazing platform to learn all about that. If they've published stuff, talk about that. So I had to. It's not about. We shouldn't position this as like stalking, but just curiosity to just know the
mm,
person, what motivates them, um, And also, one tip that really helped me was ask this question at the end of every interview. So ask them, what are your priorities for the next 6 months? And typically, if an interview is going well, as the answer, they would they would drop in small cues of, hey, this is what I'm working on. This is where you would fit in. So closing out interviews in a way where you envision them working with you, that's a winning element. So yeah, it's okay to be stressed, have a high energy, focus on these questions, and do your homework. So those would be the top three takeaways, the top three things that help me navigate the 6 rounds of interviews.
Yeah, those are excellent takeaways. I see Karina mentioned, thanks for mentioning communication. And she says navigating indirect communication and office politics is exhausting. I agree, totally agree. And Dimitri was saying, asking a question, he wanted to know, have you ever explored using AI to enhance videos, especially with you being in marketing? What are your thoughts on that? I have my own thoughts on that with video, but what's your experience been?
Right now, we are experimenting with that. Initially, videos was an area where you typically work with an agency, and it's like a 6 week project. Hey, you have an
Mhm.
idea, and then you work with an agency to animate it or record it. But right now with AI is at a stage where it's really good for prototyping. So if you have an idea, use AI to make a V1 of it, and then work with professionals to get it better. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience working with AI for enhancing videos. Um, but yeah, that's where I've actually used AI for enhancing videos at my workplace.
Right. So probably right now, not necessarily using it for the final product, but I think it's a good idea in regards to just getting an idea of what it would look like. I think I still needs a little bit some work when it comes to the video portion. It's still a work in progress. But yeah, I think using it, considering like a draft or so is perfect. Um, Now, what do you mentioned in regards to please feel free. Anyone have any questions, jump in anytime. Feel free. You mentioned in regards to, people are really going to have to know how to work with AI. So the question always becomes, is AI going to take my job? So what are your thoughts on projecting out maybe 5 years, if that's even possible? I don't even know at the rapid rate AI is changing, maybe going 2, 3 years out. But what are your thoughts on that? What people being concerned about is AI going to take my job, specifically if it's a tech role?
Yeah, the brutally honest truth is it definitely is going to take up a bunch of jobs, but it's not. It's I build AI agents for customer support, and there's a lot of human manpower used for just answering basic questions. If you're in customer support and if you're supporting someone through chat, supporting your customers through chat, AI does a far better job. So AI is going to replace certain jobs where AI can perform much better than humans, but it does not mean it would be less than 2% of all the jobs right now in the market. So, and there's also a bunch of startups that say, hey, stop hiring humans, hire AI SDRs, and they fail miserably. AI is not
Mhm.
at that stage right now. Right now, like I said, it's sort of a bubble. Everybody is in the AI space. Everybody's trying out different things. AI coaching, AI for schools. AI, like whenever there's a bubble, there's always newer products that come into the market. When things settle, like most of the VCs are estimating a 2 year period. Like by 2027 is when the first level of GPT bubble would settle in, and by that time, we would have clear winners and clear losers. Winners in the space where AI is successfully able to replace human jobs and take humanity to the next level. Right. With the dot-com bubble, initially, Google came out successful that, hey, from the website, not everybody needs a website, but everybody needs a search. So Google came out first. With AI, everybody's making strategic bets. AI could improve customer support, AI could improve sales, AI could improve teaching, but it cannot replace certain fields. But there's definitely a 2% chance of out of all of the job titles that's there, 2% of those jobs would be either completely augmented by AI or would immensely benefit from AI. So AI usually it's a 10x multiplier. So if you're able to
Mhm.
give X level of output with AI, right now the expectation is at least 5x in a span of
Mhm.
5 years. it would go 10x. And at that
Mm,
point, it's definitely. But like if you're in STEM and if you're already in a space where you don't positively see AI replacing you, but if you will be replaced if you don't use AI to do your job. So that's the overall takeaway. But I'm no expert in like AI space, but this is just coming from what I've seen go out.
okay. All right. Um, Good information. Good information. I'm curious with everyone in here, you know, if you can drop in the chat, what program are you in? Just to get an idea of maybe who's STEM, who's not, who's MBA. Like, what programs are you guys in? Because I do have some, okay, online MBA. Awesome. Nice. MSIS. Uh, okay, daytime, online MBA. Okay, a lot of MBA. One thing that I do think is good, especially for those of you going through the MBA programs, that's not necessarily a STEM program. I'm a huge advocate for you learning some type of a tech tool or analytics tool, having that under your belt, just because of just how the industries are moving, working with large sums of data. Abhi, I know your focus is marketing, but it's also working with data. Are there any tools that you suggest that students learn either before they graduate or at least try to have under their belt um, when they're stepping into the industry? That tech tools, would you say that are, just beneficial for them to have?
Yeah, now on a higher level, initially, if you asked me the same question last year, I would just say Power BI, Tableau, learn these visualization tools. But right now, more than that, like that's easy to pick up. And like if with AI, you can learn anything within 6 months. Like you can become an expert in any field with 6 months if you just work and leverage AI. But what I would, what I see the most value in is there are these tools. Like if you look up Base 44, it's an AI product that helps you build other products. So if you have an idea, hey, for me, I built a fun little product where me and my colleagues we typically go to lunch together. It's always a hassle through Slack. Hey, do you want to go to lunch? Do you want to grab lunch? I built an AI product. It's called lunchplan.app, where
Mhm.
you just type in your favorite restaurants, and then it creates a widget or an icon for you, and then it's a fun visual way of planning something. It's outside my work perspective, but I use the same tools to build other agents or other AI agents or other products to help me with my day to day. So the most versatile AI skill or AI tool to master would be to learn a little bit of a basic coding and then use Cursor. If you're comfortable with code, use Base 44. If you're not comfortable with code, to try and build fun and innovative products.
Okay, all right. And then there's some no-code tools like Alteryx as well for those of you who, if coding, if that just makes you run away, right? But definitely. Um, I guess the other thing is where do you, with you leaving the program, how much do you feel that the program prepared you to step into the industry now? Now, keep in mind that I totally understand that curriculum I just is not really going to be able to keep up with the pace of how technology changes. But just curious as to how prepared do you feel you were to step into the industry?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I have huge, huge appreciation for the MS in Marketing Analytics program. I can speak to firsthand experience because the MSMA program's curriculum, I think, was updated and is super relevant right now. So, what helped me was even though there was marketing in the program, there was also AI introduced to us in the second, I think, in the fall semester, where we actually built our own GPTs, like having insight
Oh
into
man, that's
how
good.
yeah how an AI is built, how our GPT model is built, is it opened so many doors to me. So essentially, long story short, we learned how when you type something on ChatGPT, what is the exact process that a GPT does to break down those words. So there's a tokenizer. So when you type something, it tokenizes, identifies the root word, and there's a huge vector mapping of like for specific words what is the closest probability that it would
Hmm.
make a sentence. So learning that kind of opened me up, like, hey, okay, so GPT is nothing but It's probabilistic. Like it just predicts the next word based on a huge corpus of data, and then gives you meaningful insights. So when you learn that, hey, GPT is nothing special, it's just probability. If you ask a question, it looks at every information available outside and then brings it in, and you use that to your advantage. So at work, we sometimes create email campaigns or email cadences. Initially, we were limited to the knowledge that we had, but right now, imagine you had all the time in the world and all the knowledge that's outside in the internet. What type of a campaign would you create? Like that
Mhm.
opens out a lot of possibilities. So, for me, I'm a huge advocate of the MSMA program. What we learned building our own GPT. So we built our own GPTs. Even though it sounds fancy, it's pretty simple. You identify what type of data or what type of books or corpus you want to incorporate into your GPT. And then you can just create simple GPTs that are within a smaller base using the free plan in Colab on Google Colab. So that was,
Oh, Google Cloud. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
understand the fundamentals of AI. Like AI is just another probabilistic tool. So how does AI, the boom happened really with GPT. So understand the fundamentals of how these tools work would definitely improve your efficiency on using it.
Okay. Awesome. I'm curious for anyone, anybody build their own GPTs with ChatGPTs? Anyone experimented with that? I'm curious. Who here has tried that as of yet? Or maybe you haven't and you're thinking about it. It is quiet. Yeah, it's fun. I've done it myself. And when you do it, you learn you got to tinker with it. You know, when you run it, it may not run fully the way you want it to. You go back and tweak it some more. But yeah, I think one thing that you really touched on again is really learning how to be proficient with AI. I predominantly use GPT, then maybe Copilot. I've tried Claude for a little. I think Venice AI, and I've not tried Perplexity. I'm trying Perplexity, but I like how you definitely highlighted the different AI platforms and what you think their strengths are, what they're really good for, and using them together as a tool. I've seen people use AI for so many things. I've seen people do things like um, they might take five, let's say maybe five people who are leaders in a particular industry. And if they'll say, all right, well, maybe for each of the people, they may ask ChatGPT, give me like maybe a 5 to 10 page in-depth maybe background on this person, the strengths XYZ, whatever. Long story short is they'll take those profiles and then they'll build another GPT that says, I want you to create this as my advisor. They'll make a personality out of 5 personalities and use them as their sounding board to help them work. It's crazy what the technology out there is
Yeah.
doing, but yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's that's totally cool. Yeah, there was this strings of emails leaked. So someone got access to all of Elon's emails between Elon Musk and Sam Altman during the ChatGPT whole debacle of like Elon Musk was the primary funder of ChatGPT and OpenAI, but there's a GPT that kind of like whenever I write emails, I really like the way that these execs communicate with each other. No
Hmm.
fluff, clear, concise, and we use that as a GPT. Like, hey, make my
Hmm.
email sound like as if Elon sent it. And then it'll just remove the fluff. I really like my words turning into like, how would Elon say this out?
Hmm.
So, uh, I mean, from a business context, that's relevant in terms of writing emails. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Awesome. I'm curious, any thoughts? People are kind of quiet and looking, any thoughts? Okay, I thought I saw someone turning their camera. Uh,
Hi, am I audible?
yes, you are, Hans.
Thank you, Andre. Hi, Abhi. Thank you so much for your insights. It was really good. I just had to ask a question. So I'm mainly from a tech background, and how would I pivot myself into, marketing career, especially in today's age of AI, if I want to start a new career there?
No, that's a really good question. And like it's, I've seen, there's also the shift happening where there are more, there's a gap in business skills rather than technical skills. Right now, developers are finding a harder time to find jobs than folks in business. Um, in terms of finding a marketing role that aligns to you is marketing is always going to be there as a field, right? Like products are going to be there, consumers are going to be there, and marketing is going to be the bridge. If you want to maybe shift towards marketing, no, play to your strengths. Like you, since you're coming from a tech background, like usually these tech companies have the highest paying marketing manager roles, because nobody understands, it's really hard for a non-tech marketer to come in and sell a marketing product. So play to your strengths, look at where you've worked at, and then find the same technologies. If you worked at worked as a developer, or worked in a specific field, just identify that industry and then find who is the leaders there, or who is the market leader there, and then try to find marketing roles at that specific company. For instance, AWS. AWS is a beast. AWS has like so many products. No other like non-tech person can go into AWS and market that product. So AWS, Amazon Web Services, has a Bedrock. Like I don't know what the hell a Bedrock is, but like in order to become a marketer, you need to understand that specific product. So you have that unique skill or unique background. Use that to your advantage. Find that industry that works for you. Find a company that's in hiring. Network with people. Anybody can become an expert in any field for 6 months if they put effort towards that. So that, yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'm curious, Hans, what background is it? You said tech. What's the background?
So, initially I started off as a software engineer,
Okay.
and then I changed to business intelligence, where I was also dealing with sales and marketing and all that. So I found that interesting. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. I want to pivot a little, talking about just like networking and getting yourself out there, and on that same line a little with marketing. So Abhi, you touched on using LinkedIn, and you mentioned posting. So when you say post on LinkedIn, what does that exactly look like, and what does that mean? There's some people out there like, I don't have to post, or some people like they don't know what to post, how to sound organic. So what tips, if any, can you share in regards to communicating on LinkedIn?
Yeah, for me, what's worked is I have this framework called APT, your audience, problem, and your topic. So that's how you define it. So you can, LinkedIn is a great tool. Like we've actually tried to decode LinkedIn of how to become viral on LinkedIn. In order to do that, you need to have a topical dominance. You need to be an expert in a specific topic. And how do you find your topic? Find problems in that your topic can solve, and then you go to your audience. I look at, hey, okay, so I'm a marketer. My audience is going to be other fellow marketers, or product companies. What are their problems? Their problems are communicating or finding customers. And then you find topics of, hey, these are newer digital channels that nobody's exploring. These are newer AI products that nobody's exploring. So use that APT framework to find your audience on LinkedIn. Try to look at your LinkedIn, try to find patterns. Hey, who's following you, or which set of audience do you want to attract? I wanted to attract recruiters. I want to attract like top, minds in marketing. Okay, so what are the challenges or problems faced by that specific audience? Folks trying to grow their business, and they've exhausted all the playbooks. Marketers trying to find new ideas. Those are problems, and then that creates your content. So hey, how are search trends differing? Folks, in how are people searching for different things? Like how is the demand for AI changing from AI chatbots to AI agents? So that's how I identify topics and talk about those strategies. So that
Okay.
kind of helps.
Okay. And we were talking about this earlier. So when it comes to a couple of questions that I want to follow up with that. So when it comes to posting, um, what what would you recommend as a cadence in regards to posting per week?
Yeah, 5 days a week at least.
Ooh.
So yeah, LinkedIn. Yeah, if you look at the code of LinkedIn, there's this person who reviewed every line of code within LinkedIn, and he was able to go from, like, say, 1,000 followers to 14 million impressions in a span of 6 weeks. And he was a programmer. He published a playbook on, hey, cracking LinkedIn is easy. You need to post more. LinkedIn also monitors your dwell time. Dwell time, as in like how much seconds is a person focusing on your ad. You can hack that by having a lot of content, like having few extra lines. You can hack folks to spend a bit more time on your post. So there are multiple resources that you could use. But in terms of a cadence or a strategy to grow your LinkedIn, post a lot. And you need, whenever you post something, you often see the same set of people liking your post or engaging with your post. If you want to break out of that, you need to go out and engage with different audiences, like, that you want to attract. So LinkedIn favors if you post regularly, not more frequently. If you post 3 times a week, that's fine, as long as you keep posting 3 times a week for an extended period of time. So post at least 3 times a week. I don't do that. Like, these are the strategies that my company's profile follows. Like, if you see Sendbird's LinkedIn account, like, we've grown to 35,000 followers. When I joined about a year ago, we were about at, I would say, I think less than 20, like 18K or
Mm,
something. So in a
mm.
span of 9 months, we grew from like 28K to 35,000 followers, following this specific playbook. Post every day, have a variety of content, sports short form videos, content pieces, and then we intentionally add extra lines so that people spend a bit more time engaging with us. And as Sendbird, our corporate profile also engages with other audiences. So yeah, these are some tips in terms of how can you grow your profile, and if you're in marketing, how can you grow your company's profile.
Okay. And going back to AI again, and we were talking about this before we started. What are your thoughts on people who are like, all right, well, I'm just going to use ChatGPT to create, you know, um, text for me to post because I don't know what to post. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna copy it and paste it straight from ChatGPT or whatever AI tool they use. What are your thoughts on that? I was talking about how I can notice some posts that are easily I can spot it from ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's because of AI, the global mediocrity has risen. Sometimes we make intentional typos during in an email, so to let them know that, hey, I wrote this and instead of an AI. But in terms of social media, you need to have an authentic voice. Like, no, you need to bring something to the table. What AI has, AI is pre-trained. AI generated text is all pre-trained. So you need to add some sort of unique take towards your post. It could be thought leadership. Hey, I feel this is the way. This is where the industry is heading. When you're early on in your career or early on in your learning journey or LinkedIn journey, it might be intimidating to have your own opinions. But LinkedIn rewards true, like, thought leadership or first-hand opinions and first-hand experiences. ChatGPT cannot describe my journey from my master's program to a job in the Bay Area. So bring your unique perspective, but use AI to tweak it. So have something that's your own, and then tweak it using AI to make it better
Mhm.
and algorithm friendly.
Okay, awesome. Real quick, everyone, I'm going to drop the survey link in the chat. I just did that right now. Please take a quick 2 minutes to fill that out. Just give us some quick feedback. Would really appreciate it. I had another question for you. Like, I remember when you got the position at Sendbird, and I'm gonna tell you, like, Avi, he really was applying for positions. He was really out there applying, and I was so happy for you when this went through. One thing that I will say, um, again, and Abhi, I think you're being very, what's the word? You're being very humble, I would say in a sense. I think the work that you do is really excellent in marketing, even, from just comparing to what I see out there, the standard of your work and what you deliver is high level. It's been that way with you working with us when you worked at Graduate Business Career Services, and I'm sure it's the same as Sendbird, or else you wouldn't still be there. But I say all this to say that, sometimes people get, worried about when they're applying. I don't know if an employer is gonna wait around for me or XYZ. But Abhi's journey, what he went through was like he was in a situation where employees wanted him to start like yesterday, and I think they actually waited a good month or so, they were willing to not hire anyone else and wait for Abhi to graduate to come on board. And I think that really goes to show how serious you took your work, how much you leveled up, how much you really put into learning your craft and bettering yourself. So you really stand out. There are people who say, well, there's no jobs out there. I think you touched on mediocrity. I think, and I've seen this, I watch content a lot on people in tech. And the rule of thumb is mediocrity, those are the ones who really have a hard time finding work. If you're willing to bump it up a notch, you're going to have more eyes looking at you and more opportunities.
Yeah, thanks, Nadi. You're too kind. But yeah, like thinking of those days, it was super anxious. Like I had a lot of anxiety because being an international student first, getting interviews is hard, and then I was not able to start. I started applying pretty early on, right before I graduate. So I was legally allowed to work post completing a degree. So I had to start working in May, but I got the offer in like March
Much.
or April.
Yeah.
But through every stage of my interview, like, before the 6 rounds of interviews, like I used to come to Andre every day and be like, hey, this is how we had a debrief. And then Andre is a great resource. Like if you've not booked a meeting or like booked a session with Andre, I would highly recommend that, especially right before your interviews. I had like 6 sessions, every session right before the interview, and one after, to just go over, hey, this is how the conversation went. How would I prepare for the next one? And if you're applying for a role with multiple interviews, try to gather data. So from the
Mhm.
first interview, I gathered some data which I used in the second one. Hey, you're working on this is how I can add value. And then get their priorities. And then take everything that you've learned and add on to the very end. So I met the director, like the highest level, towards the very end. And by that time, I had a pretty good idea of what the company was doing, what their problems were, and how I could help solve for it. So you need to build that picture of like, okay, not it's not just one way conversation. They're not just evaluating you. You should also evaluate and capture information from there. But yeah, this it. I mean, luck plays a huge role. I'm really happy. I got lucky that they decided to wait for 3 months. I was pretty sure that they were gonna keep looking for someone else in the meantime, because a company waiting for 3 months for you to join, for you to graduate, was huge. And I really did not have confidence in me. But I think it was Dosha too. Dosha was my graduate advisor. She gave me good advice that, hey, Abhi, you need to be confident. Like, you've
Mhm.
gotten here, you've gotten the offer, you need to own it. They wouldn't be offering you something if they didn't think they would believe in you. And that's when everything changed. So, irrespective of if you're receiving one callback for every 100 or 1,000 applications, if you get it, you deserve it, and you need to have that
Mhm.
confidence. And they really appreciate that. Like when I confidently told them, hey, I have to finish school, I cannot start right now. Are you willing to wait? Instead of initially, I was, cannot join. Can you please wait for me? Having that shift really changed their perspective. Okay, this guy, he knows his worth. We need to wait for him to join, and he can definitely add value. So yeah, be confident in yourself. That really changed the game. Like I had no other offers at that time, but all I had was just Andre to support, and just the resources around me. So,
And you did excellent. Excellent. All right. So I know it's already like 6:35. So I'm gonna ask the last question unless anyone has any others. So the last question I have is, right now the big thing is a lot of people would like to work remotely. When you started at Sendbird, you were down here, the company's up in the Bay, Northern California area, and they allowed you to stay here to work. So I'm curious, what is your take on working remotely, and what made you decide to leave Southern California, nice sunny California, to go up to the Bay where it's chilly, even in July? So what was the impetus for that? What's your thoughts on remote working, hybrid, and the like?
yeah, that's a really good, interesting topic. So, my work is hybrid. I could have chosen to just stay in California. So the rule at my current company is if you don't stay within 30 miles of your work location, you can stay remote 5 days a week. So some of my colleagues, they strategically stay further down, so just like 31 miles, so that they don't
Mm,
have to come. And most of the workplace is okay about it. Personally, I get a lot of energy from seeing people work. And even though it's 3 day hybrid for me, I go in 5 days a week because those 2 days,
Mhm.
Tuesdays and Fridays, when nobody is around, like the E staff or the E staff, executive staff, like the CEO, CFO, all of those people come in on 5 days a week, and I get energy from meeting them. Being early on in your career, it's okay if you feel comfortable just working from home, but there's so much value that you can get by just being around people. Those just smaller water cooler conversations, or just cracking jokes, or getting that one 80% of your waking time. 80% might be a stretch. 60% of your waking time is spent with your colleagues, and if you develop that relationship and have a positive relationship with your work, like work life balance is it's good if you prioritize that. But for me, work was kind of fun when I was in person rather than just over Zoom. So I like, if you're starting in your career, and if you're early on in your journey, I would highly recommend moving closer to work or just working in person. It also depends on the type of company that you're in. If you're in a startup, or if you want to work for a startup, it's a huge night and day difference if you're closer to someone. Instead of raising a Zoom call or a Slack message, you can just turn around and be like, hey, I need this done, and you get things moving really quickly.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. All right. I know, what's it's like almost 6:40, and I can see students getting ready to head out to class. Um, Thanks, Abby. I just really wanted to thank you for, sharing your journey, advice, tips, your thoughts on tech, and you being open to having students reach out to you. Um, yeah, Hans, thank you for the session. Yes, indeed. Just everyone, just want to thank Avi again. You have his contact details. Feel free to reach out. I see some hand claps here going on. But again, really wanted to thank you. Wishing you all the best. One of our alumni who's a rising star, I would say. So thank you very much. Any last words? Anybody else would like to share or ask? It's Lindsay. Thank you so much, Abby, for giving back to the program. And thank you to all who participated. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, everyone. So I think that will be it. We'll just wrap things up. Like I said, this session will be recorded and we'll put it up on our YouTube channel so you can view it later on. But again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I'm sure Abby's had a long day, probably wants to go eat, rest, or something. All right. All right, everybody. So take care and we'll see you at the next event. Take care, everyone.